The month is officially over, and that means it's time for a wrap-up. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the September 2024 wrap-up. So all the books I read in September with the ratings. And if you're new here, I do spoiler-free reviews, so you don't have to worry about anything being spoiled. I'm just gonna sit here and tell you like the premise of the book, like what kind of like what the blurb is and how I felt about it and what I rated it. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. Let's take a moment and go over my rating system. So, 5 stars means best of the best. I absolutely loved it. I didn't have any issues, and I will recommend it to anybody and everybody. 4 stars means I still really liked it, but I did have some issues. That's usually like pace problems, or maybe there was a character I didn't really like. Maybe the plot didn't like work all the way, or it had plot holes if it was a thriller. Any plot holes is an immediate 4 star for me. 3 stars means I did not like it, but it was a subjectivity issue, so I was just not the right reader for the book, and if I think that you would like it, I would still recommend it to you. 2 stars means I didn't like it, it had fundamental issues, and I probably will not recommend it. 1 star is the worst of the worst. I absolutely hated it. I disliked it so much that I probably won't read the author again. I usually reserve my 1-star ratings for books that have racism, homophobia, grooming, where it's like fetishized, you know, like encouraged to be like sexual and like attractive to like groom people, or underage sex or anything like that, painted in an enticing light. Did you understand what I mean when I say it like that? Like, it's like, oh, I just slept with a 13-year-old and it was so hot. And it's like, it's encouraging like the reader to also be okay with things like that. Those are 1-star books for me. There's no 1-star books today. There's only been like maybe 2 or 3 times that I've ever given a 1-star on rating ever. So yeah, it doesn't really happen that often for me. If you've made it this far, I'm so happy that we've started Spooktober. I already put episode 1 of Spooktober out, which is the October Maybes. It's already posted, and from now on, after this episode, there's going to be 2 more Spooktober episodes for October, and then we're going to do the wrap up the first week of November, and that will be the final Spooktober episode, and I will be so excited if you guys tune in for all of that. So, now that I've made the longest intro ever, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So, I will tell you guys, I mentioned this earlier that I was going to have to take it easy in September, and I ended up doing that because, number one, work was just terrible. I was booked out for weeks at a time. I barely had any breathing room, and we were traveling in September, and we started school. It's been a lot. September has been a heavy month for me. So, I only read 3 books this month, which is typically what I normally read, but like in August, I think I read a bunch of books, and so this might feel a little like off, but it's not. This is pretty normal for me. So, the first book I read in September was Don't Look for Me by Wendy Walker. Okay, the funny thing is like I remember reading this in the pool. I was in the pool with my headphones in. Like, that seems like so long ago. You know, I'm like literally wearing a long sleeve shirt today. That seems like ages ago that I read this book. So let's get into the premise of this book. Basically, this mom, she's got 2 teenage kids, and she also has like a very tragic story of her 3rd child. And we start off the book like really rocky. Like, this mother is not in a good place mentally, right? She's really struggling. So she gets stuck in some bad weather. She has car issues or whatever, and she gets out to try to get help, to get somewhere. She doesn't have any cell service, she didn't have any gas, she can't get her car started, she needs help. So she gets out of her car in the middle of the storm to try and find help. And that is the last time that anybody has ever seen her. So we cut to the daughter's perspective. I think she's like 17, 18, 19, something like that. I feel like she's in college. And we're cutting to her like 2 weeks after her mom went missing. There was a big investigation. Everybody came to this town where she left her car, and they're trying to piece together what exactly happened to her. And basically the cops have said she walked away from her life. And the daughter's like, no, I'm not accepting that. I'm finding my mother. She did not walk away from us. And so this ends up being the crux of the story, okay? What happened to the mom? And is the daughter going to be able to find her, even though the cops don't really want to help? Her dad is not supportive. And she basically is having trouble finding anybody that is interested helping her find her mom. We are getting a dual perspective with this book. We're also getting a time shift with this book. So we're following the mom in real time as what happens, and then we're flashing forward to the daughter as she's trying to retrace her mother's step. She's trying to find clues. She's trying to figure it all out, right? I think that this was put together insanely well. I absolutely loved the mother character. Now I can't remember her name because she was smart. And I know, like, it's hard to like explain to you because I'm not going to tell you anything else about the book really, but it was so refreshing to have like an actual like intelligent female main character that was like not a cliche. I don't know. I feel like the last couple times I've like read thrillers and there was like something that had to be solved, or the character was in some sort of a predicament, the female main character was in some sort of predicament, she had to like she couldn't use her full brain or something, and it's like, why didn't we just do this? And I was so pleasantly surprised with this female main character because I felt like she did use her brain to the best of her ability, and she made a lot of really cool and solid decisions. And I never once felt like she was giving up, laying down, or like bumbling through, if you know what I mean. So it was really nice change there. Y'all, this book was a bit heavy, okay? The trauma in this book was very intense. As a mother myself, if you are a parent, especially if you're a mother, this might be difficult for you to read. There is a lot of issues in this book, and pretty much everyone blames the mother for everything that has happened in this little family, and it's so hard to read. It's so hard to read. So if you're a bit sensitive, it might be too much, okay? But they were very hard on her. She was hard on herself. It was difficult, okay? It was difficult to read concerning that. Now, I will say, this was so cleverly crafted. It was so tightly woven together, okay? I did it on the audiobook, and I think the audio narration was great. I found no fault with this book, okay? But the second I closed it, I just kind of felt like, about it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel impressed by it anymore. I wasn't very excited about it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a terrific book. So I don't know why I felt that way about it. I don't know. I think maybe just because it took me a long time to read it, because I was working so much, like I just didn't have as much downtime as I was wanting, that I just kind of felt disconnected from the book by the time I finished it. Now, I ended up giving it 5 stars because I could not find fault with this book, okay? Even though I was feeling kind of like whatever about it when I finished it, there were no faults that I could find. There were no plot holes. Everything was written very tight. All of the characters were extremely engaging. I thought the storyline was actually pretty good. The twist I didn't see coming. So I could not find a reason to knock it down. I think I was just not in the mood anymore for this book. You know, I finished it. I was ready to move on. So yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I did like it, and I will probably return to Wendy Walker. The next book I read in September was The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. Okay, this was chosen for my book club, and let me tell you all, I struggled so much with this book, okay? If I had not done this on the audiobook, it would have been a DNF because this book was so boring at first, okay? But that at first part is kind of a big deal. You know, when you're first opening a book, it needs to be pretty engaging right away so you continue to read it. And if you're one of those people that will not sink in, like force yourself to sink into a book, you might not get through the first couple chapters because it's rough. So let's start with the premise. We have 2 women. One of them is a renowned, I guess you would say, clairvoyant. She contacts people on the other side of this realm after they have died, and she basically solves their murder because she contacts them, brings them back, and they tell her who murdered them. And She does this for families that need closure. I think this is in the 1600s. Women don't have a lot in this timeline, right? Her assistant is our main character. Okay, and the reason that she has become her assistant is because her sister was murdered. Not coincidentally, the sister that was murdered was also a student of this clairvoyant lady named Vaudeline. So, the alive sister is now the assistant to the clairvoyant lady because she wants to solve her sister's murder. That's one whole half of the story, okay? The other half of the story is a guy named Mr. Morley, and he runs, or he's part of the London Seance Society, which is an all-male seance club. They have a lot of different branches in this club, okay? But Mr. Morley is in charge of the psychic clairvoyant part of it. They do readings. Like, they go to people's houses after people have died. They basically do the same thing that Vaudeline does, okay? But this is like a male-only little club in London. So, the president of their little club has been murdered, and they don't have any way to solve this murder. Like, the London police or whoever have come up with a dead end. They need to figure out how this guy died. Well, they're like, let's call this clairvoyant lady. Vaudeline will bring her to London, will sneak her into the society, and will solve the murder. And so, this book is about these two women joining Mr. Morley secretly with the London Seance Society to solve the murder of the Seance Society's president, while also the assistant of Vaudeline wants to find out who murdered her sister. Oh my gosh. Yes, do you understand what I mean now when I say that this was a lot? This book was a lot. And I really had so much trouble sinking into it until I realized this book is gay. Okay? That made me excited. That added a little bit of a zip to this book, okay? I was so happy to get some kind of representation in this book because otherwise it was just not gonna work for me. The pace was not good, okay? And basically, we were switching between the assistant to Vaudeline, the one that wants to solve her sister's murder, and Mr. Morley. And we're, in terms of like timeline, all over the place in this book, okay? And let me tell you, every time it was time for Mr. Morley's chapter, I was like grimacing. I was just rolling my eyes. I did not like this character. And his chapters were so boring. Like, very little dialogue. Lots of him just, like, telling us a story or, like, talking to himself. Not a lot happening. Okay? It wasn't like nothing was happening, but oh my gosh. I felt like I might die of boredom every time I saw him on the page. We're cruising along slowly, and I'm like, I've got to get through this book. I cannot get hung up on this book. I need to finish it and move on. And so I had it on the audiobook. I will say the audiobook does make it more interesting because they do a lot of accents and stuff, and I really liked that. So I'm just trying to get through. And then it does pick up in the middle, gets really interesting. We start to get a lot of good movement, lots of exciting events, and then it becomes fun, okay? But it took me a long time to get there. It really did. It took me a long time to get to fun. I would say the last quarter of the book is extremely overwritten and very cyclical. We're switching back and forth in perspectives quite a bit at that point, and I felt like every time Mr. Morley was on the page, he was like taking us back like 20, 30 minutes just to replay how he felt about the situation. I'm like, no, keep this moving. It felt very cyclical at the end. It was overwritten, and I was not having that great of a time. The ending just felt like we were circling the point for way too long. Okay, they just dragged it on forever. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. And let me explain myself, because I literally just trash talked it for like a good 3 or 4 minutes or something. I wanted to give it 3 stars. I did. I was on the last 3 chapters of this book, and I was like, this is 3 stars. I'm not having a good time. I was struggling through it. Like I said, the writing and the pace in general were not working for me. And then the ending came. And we could see the larger message of this book. The larger message of this book I loved. I will tell you what it is briefly, like, just so if you're on the fence about reading it and I've kind of turned you off of it, let me leave you with this. It was very boys will be boys, women will be women. Okay? There was a lot, by the end of this book, there was a lot of very strong feminine power vibes that I loved. Okay? It took us so long to get there. It really did. It took so long. But by the time the ending came and everything kind of flushed out and we were left at the end, I could not give it 3 stars because I felt such good vibes by the end of this book. I was so happy with the ending. I was so happy with the ending message of the book, like with the how it all pieced together. I was happy with that. So I did give it 4 stars. But if the ending had literally gone any other way, it would have been a 3-star book for me. This is a very, very, very low 4 or a very, very, very high 3, okay? Because I did really struggle. But it turned out okay. The last book I read in September was A Death at the Party by Amy Stuart. So I feel like this was on 2 maybe series, and I finally decided to read it, and it was available at my library. The reason I was so interested in this book is because it's told in live time. So like we're opening the book on a scene and then we're going back to, and we're doing like a live reading of the 24 hours leading up to like the scene that we opened on. We opened the book with the female main character finding a body in the basement of her home while she's throwing a huge birthday party for her mother. We don't know who the dying or dead character is. All we know is our female main character has found this person and they are hesitating on calling 911. And that's when we rewind to the very beginning of the day. And we go through from the beginning of the day up until that moment where she finds the body in the basement during the birthday party. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, pace on this was a struggle as well. Because what do you mean we're going through the whole day? We really did need all of that time because this book was so much more complicated than I was expecting. Y'all want to talk about secrets? This book is secrets. That's it. This whole book is secrets, and let me tell you, every single person in this book has got one, okay? And they are guarding it with their life. Also, there is a lot happening in this book. Like a lot. With the female main character, she's got two teenage kids. She's got this mom that's like super famous. They all have this like really sad backstory. Like the mom's aunt died when she was little and she like found her body. Lots of crazy things happening in this book. Okay, and like I said, the secrets, oh, when they start to unspool, boy do they go wild, okay? My biggest issue with this book was I could not stand how everybody in this family was treating this mother. Are you kidding me? After everything that she has done for this family, I could not stand how everybody talked to her, how everybody treated her. I just didn't get it. Didn't get it at all. Again, if you're a mom and you're reading this book, you probably will be a little bit peeved too, because why is everybody talking to her like that? I don't know. That got me up a lot because I didn't understand why everybody was treating her so badly all the time. When as we get further into the book, we're really seeing how hard this woman is working to keep her tight-knit family running all the time. How she's keeping everything smoothed out, how she's taking on the weight of the world to fix all these problems so like literally everybody in her family is happy. It's crazy to me how hard she's working to hold these ungrateful people together in their happy bubble, okay? There was a lot happening in this book. I thought it was really well written. The pace is the reason I did not give it 5 stars, okay? I gave it 4 stars. The pace was the reason it didn't get 5. Because we wake up the day of the party and then it's just like we kind of ho-hum. I don't know, she's just like, everybody has things to do, we're going to be busy, and then it's just sort of like we la-di-da'd through the day, running these really weird errands that probably didn't need to be ran, and it was like, so what are we doing? Well, we're getting the story, but it's like, but what are we really doing? What are we really doing besides getting the story? So yeah, the pace was a little off for me, and that ended up being why I gave it 4 stars. By the time we get to the end of the book, wonderful. Beautifully put together. I thought the circumference of the book really came around. I thought it was the perfect way to end. Like, I don't know, everything just came together so nicely at the end. And I had mixed feelings at the end of the book because it was a pretty ambiguous ending. But I don't know. Sometimes those work for me and sometimes it didn't. It worked for me here, and I was able to just kind of accept that and move on. So, this one got 4 stars. I really liked it. It ended up panning out. You just kind of gotta hang on for the ride, I guess. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. That's everything I read in September. Like I said, a little short. I only got 3 books in. I was really proud of my 3 books, okay, because let me tell you, September was a slog. Next time, the boys will not be allowed to be up here while I'm filming. They have been a little chaotic today. So, yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you will continue to tune in for the rest of the Spooktober episodes that are coming up in the next 2 weeks, and then the first week of November. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know I'm posting. I post every week. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you liked any of these books, if you have any recommendations for me. I love hearing from you guys. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye!